Live stream, create. Oh, hey, I'm live already. I'm just changing the title right now. All right. Procedural generation development. Sure. All right. Save. All right. So up in the corner, we have a. Oh, where is this? Hey, where are you? I just lost my feed. Oh, there we go. All right. So up in the corner over here, we have Unity up playing already. And I've set this up with a special script. I called it Live Build Tool. It added a special menu item. So perform live build. Effectively, it runs the build. And instead of just building it out to the build folder, if the build is successful, it will replace the existing executable that's stored in another path and kill the existing executable, assuming it's there, kill the process, and delete the executable, delete the files, and then move the installation over to that, or move the executable over to that, assuming the assuming the build was successful. So every time that I make changes to this project, I will be able to execute those changes and keep them running up on the top there. All right, so now let's head over into Unity. So this is a really simple project. The only script in it right now is the live build tool and one cube that's floating there. So first thing, I just want to make something that's moving up here at the top. So let's go ahead and create a new system. This one needs to be a generator. So I'm going to call it, we'll call it generator. Now I need a script to work with this. Create C# script, and we'll call this generator. All right, now we have our generator class. And inside of this, I just wanted to start producing something. It doesn't really matter what at this point. We will keep improving this with every iteration. So at this point, I just want cubes to start getting generated. Let's go with one a frame. All right, so public game object, and we're going to call this prefab. So we got a reference to the prefab. Then we're going to say public. What do we want now? How many times it's going to do it? No. Float radius equals 10. So 10 meters out from the initial cube. Considering that the default cube, I believe that is 1 by 1, or it's 1 meter cube. Then having a radius of 10, that's going to go an extension of upwards of 10 out, which should consume most of the available screens side to side and top to bottom, definitely for that one. All right, so now I need to start generating them. Public void awake, not awake, update. And now inside of here, we're going to instantiate a new prefab. So we're going to say var prefab equal, I'll call it P, equals instantiate. And the original is going to be this.prefab. We need the transform parent. I don't care. I'll just throw this in the root for now. We're going to improve on this and not use game objects for it ultimately. At least that's the plan. So now this prefab, we want to instantiate. We need the transform parent. I don't care. That can be null. Let's just go with position and rotation. So I'll go. Position is going to be nope. What was it for a random position? Is that vector 3 dot, or is it just under random? Random in Unity mathematics. Okay. Random dot. That's not what I was expecting. No, not mathematics here. Random equals Unity engine dot random. Also, I'm relatively new with Rider. I've used this in the past. I haven't liked it as much as Visual Studio, but I tend to focus on my projects more from an architectural standpoint, and I found Visual Studio works better in that case. When it is purely task-driven development, getting features into a game, for instance, it does seem that Rider has a better flow for that, but I haven't used it enough to make that flow very natural for me yet. So I'm going to miss some hotkeys and stuff along things along those lines. All right, so random dot inside unit circle, that'll put me anywhere. Inside unit sphere, vector 3, times radius, quaternity, and identity. Sure, that's exactly what I want. So we have now instantiated it. It exists. That's technically all I need to do. Now, save. All right. Now that I've saved it, let's go back into the game. Oh, it's built. All right, so that just did that. Now let's actually run this special live build. So this is going to run the live build, and assuming that there are no errors, it should replace this thing up here, which it'll disappear when it's at the end. That's taking longer than I was expecting. All right, it cleared it at least. But that took almost 20 seconds for it to finish the build. I'm a little surprised by that. And then I put it way over here. It's supposed to be here. And nothing's happening. Why? There's no prefab. All right, so generator. And there's no generator class. Let's put that in there, and for the cube, right there. Save it, and special live build. I suppose hitting the play button would work better in this case. Should be a little faster to execute. Okay, go back to that same spot, please. Let's see what it does. Put it on a different monitor. Can you like make up your mind to just go to the same spot every time? All right, good. That's what I was expecting. So lots of cubes, they are overlapping each other, and we lose view of most of what's going on here. But something's certainly going on. All right, now let's go back into the code. We need the generator to maybe give some new colors to this stuff. I think I also want to give them a lifespan for right now. No, because I want the generator to start expanding out. So it's not necessarily putting the same cubes in there. Okay, let's make something that starts generating them based on a position. So it'll decide to move a meter left, right, up, down, forward, back, and place a cube there. So now let's go over to generator, not there. Yes, generator. So inside of this, that means that what I want to do is I want to store the last position that we generated a cube. So I'm going to say public, not transform, vector 3. Vector 3 last position. Okay, so in this case, public var, we need to know what our new position is going to be. So our new position, let's see, how can we achieve this one? We need basically 1/6 of a chance to go in any particular direction. Let's say public float. What am I putting public in a function for? All right, float R&D equals random.value. Sure, that should be a value between 0 and 1. And now if R&D is less than 0. What was this? 1/6 is less than 1/f divided by 6. And I'm not going to make this a very realistic function for the time being. I'll reduce the chances of it as it's moving up. Now let's put a real one in there. We're going to say In that case, what do we want? We want if R&D is less than 1F times, oh, in that case, just divided by 6F. Okay. Then in this case, we want to move the last position by, doesn't matter, last position plus equals, and vector 3 dot, sure, back to the first one. This moves in 1 meter instance increments for the time being. 2F divided by 6. R&D 2F divided by 6. Is that what I want? Hey, what? Hey, so one of the reasons that I stepped away from Visual Studio as well was because Copilot was just built into there, and I didn't trust how many more AI features were going to get stuffed into there. While it's nice having some of them, once I get a curveball like this, like, is this actually the function that I want to? I now have to start reprocessing what did it mean according to what the AI threw in there. And I don't like that. Not when I already had a chain of mathematics in my head. All right. So in this case, stop it. I'm going to say 1F divided by 6F times 2F. Okay, and PEMDAS, it's still the multiplication division happen at the same time, so, or in the same sequence. So when it comes across a division and a multiplication here, it will do the division first and then the multiplication. And if I swap their order, it should be the other way around. It's just it's just the plus minus that changes, or plus minus versus the multiplication and division. All right, let's see. So with that one, we got vector 3, right? Is that what I wanted? Right. Back. We're going with down. It's next one in alphabetic order. All right. Sure, yay. Okay. Left. No, let's keep the alphabetic order going. Forward. No. Dot left. Not negative infinity. Right is next. And then up is going to be last. Else. Okay, and that also means I need to throw the else if in front of each of these. Okay, so 1/6 chance of getting each, for getting the position to move 1 in each of the directions. Now inside of there, instead of using this one where I'm identifying the position based on just a random spot in the sphere, I now want it to be the last position. So we store the last position, we modify the last position, we come back around and use it again. I'm reusing the variable instead of creating a new one that we changed there, because we already need to access this memory. Big deal. We need to put it back anyway. All right. Now let's go back to Unity. I think next we're going to need to add a camera script to track and follow how it's moving around. A lerp script I tend to find works well enough for that, but it's not going to work well enough for the physics. So inside of here, what do we have? Let's just do a play check, because that should start much faster. It's still taking its time. Okay, yeah, that worked. And now let's put that on here. Special live builds burst, no, special live build, yeah. Okay, we're also going to need a camera script, so let's generate the camera script. Over here, I need access to this class, so we're going to copy this class. This new one is going to be called, not last position, we're going to call it something else. The new one, what was I doing here? I just saw it clear the old one. Stop moving it up there. Maybe I should put something in the code to make sure it remembers its position. I don't typically ever mess with that though. I don't know the code for that off the top of my head, so I'll have to spend some of the video doing a Google search or an AI ask. All right, generator.cs. Oh, yeah, it executed and it ran, but we don't get to see much of what's going on. So let's change that. We're going to call it camera focus, camera follow generator. And this basically just means that we're going to start following the direction that the generator is going. So the last position. In this case, I'm just going to change it to position. Rename position. What? Okay, in Rider, when I change the name of a variable, how do I get it to change all the usages of it as well? Okay, so we got last position. Now, if I rename this, wait a minute. On here, I have to right click and rename, or I can do Control RR. Okay, so this is how we do this in Rider. All right, in Visual Studio, you just rename it and then hit Control Dot or the little side menu that comes up, and it highlights the option to replace all instances of it. In this case, I have to use a unique hotkey. And in Visual Studio, it's kind of like it felt more natural, and I think that's reasonable. I like the Visual Studio approach, but then again, that's what I have been using for a long time. All right, last position, we're just going to call it position. Okay, what is this? Rename a serialized field can break existing serialized data. Adding formalized. Don't add. I'll just, I understand why it's doing that, but I don't care. Okay, because we don't need it to care. Now that we've got that, what were we doing? Class generator, this needs, when I copy it, that's another thing with Visual Studio. If I copy the script and I rename it, no, Visual Studio screws up on this one as well. What I would like is just copy a class, and when I do, give me the option to set the name right away. And when I do that, rename that instance of the class. So in Rider, it generated the class, and now I have to go in manually and fix this. Okay. But in Visual Studio, when it does it and I rename the class and it offers to fix that, it fixes both instances of it. So every single placement of that class name everywhere, but then that class name is still broken because you have two separate files with the exact same class name. So not a good experience in either so far. All right, class generator. Now I have to enter this again. Camera follow generator. Okay, so now we're going to keep the update. I'm going to get rid of this, delete, and let's go. No, I want to select those. Okay. Public, what's the new one? Generator. So I want generator, a reference to generator, public reference follow generator. Okay, and now I'm going to say public vector3 offset. I want to get an offset that identifies where the camera is supposed to be in relationship to that object. All right, vector3 last position. No, offset. This is one of the reasons that I don't like all of the Copilot AI stuff built into this, because I have a mentality in my head that I'm trying to get through in the code, and then it keeps suggesting things that it thinks is likely because I just put a reference to follow generator. But it doesn't know what's going on in my head. And so when it throws out a new idea, it changes my idea. If you guys want to know what is wrong with why developers appear to be getting dumber with IntelliSense or with things like Copilot running, it's because you have things like this happening that keep distracting you from the mentality you already understand in your own head. Think back, there's things that that you used to be able to do that now you just kind of feel overwhelmed by. Look at this stuff. It keeps overwhelming me. How do I turn this off? Okay, I'm going to search that right now because I do not want this feature on. Now in here, let's say writer turn off Copilot like AI. I want that off. No, thank you, Bing, for telling me how to turn Copilot off. No, it's not Copilot. Turn off AI auto code. I don't know what it's called in this one. AI auto code. All right. Settings in the IDE. So I assume that's here. Tools, maybe? Okay, I don't see settings there. File, settings. There we go. Now, inside of here, it says I need to go to AI Assistant. Okay, I don't see anything where it says AI Assistant. Let's go AI Assistant. Tools, AI Assistant. Okay, how do I turn it off? This is not what it's coming up with. Okay. Thank you, Bing, for Bing AI for explaining this to me, because that is not what I wanted. So now let's find out from Ryder, or JetBrains. Okay, now how do I turn this off? You can enable or disable autocompletion using the Show Suggestions as you type checkbox in Editor General Code Completion. That does not match what Bing suggested at all. All right, so now let's try that. Inside of here, I'm going to get rid of this. And now, which was it? Editor General. So I need Editor. Go. Editor General Code Completion. What? Okay, now there's a line missing because it ended at code completion, but there's nothing in here. So in this case, I need one of these. And this says, if you want to change the default, use the corresponding control. Okay, so in this one, type matching, enter insert suggestion, even if the pop-up is not focused. What? Automatically insert parentheses after completion. That's not what I want. Sort suggestions with machine learning. This tells me that it already has AI activated, which means it's already by default set up to look at my code. And I'm really positive I did not choose any of the AI features when I set this up. Actually, no. I probably did. All right. So how do I do this? How do I get rid of the AI option completely? All right, writer, opt out of AI. What? Waymo. So I just did a search, writer opt out of AI. Waymo is introducing an opt out option for writers. Good job, Bing. You've got the AI to recognize stuff. You have understanding of what I'm doing and things like that. And you couldn't recognize that writer meant the application, the same thing that I did the last several search entries for. Good use of AI. It used to be better when it was just metrics that it was getting this stuff off of. I take that back. Sometimes it is helpful and able to figure things out better. What was the place that made it? JetBrains. Now I'm focusing more on just Out of Airbnb? No. What? AI. And why Reddit? Stop auto-completing. Here I am fighting with autocomplete all the time. Disable AI assistant. Click the JetBrains AI widget toolbar. There's an AI widget toolbar somewhere in here? What does that even look like? Is that this thing? Oh my goodness, I was right. No, I don't want this on. Settings. Disable. Yay! Okay. That was what I was looking for. Inline. Cool. Save. Um, offset. Okay, now we are inside of public function void. Is it? Why is it grayed out by default? Is it just because they don't have code in there, or is it because it technically doesn't exist right now? I'm curious. Okay. Public void update. Yeah, okay, it grays out. The code was there. Back to the beginning. Now my attention can go right back to coding. So camera follow generator, offset. We want this to be able to follow and remember what that offset was, what it's supposed to get back to. So at any point in time, on awake, I need to set the offset on awake. We'll go to that first. So public void awake. Yes, and I understand it's better to do these private, and I don't really care. This is test stuff anyway. I'm going to replace and, well, maybe I'll replace this one. Maybe I'll keep this script. But honestly, who cares? Now, public void awake. Inside of here, I need to set the offset. So, offset the camera. That's this one, this transform. So, offset equals, let's say, the object's position. So it's the target follow generator dot last position. Didn't I change that to position? What was the rename function that I did? Control RR. We're going to change this to position. Yes, change it. And don't add the formerly serialized as. Okay, that's all there. I could have sworn that I had already done this. Not sure what happened. Okay, follow generator. This gets the position minus, in this case, this dot transform dot position. All right, so it gets the direct offset from here. Now that we've got the offset, we're going to say vector 3 var position equals, in this case, we need a follow generator dot position plus equals offset. All right, that should keep everything the same unless I did something dumb. Var p. No, I've got p. So now that I've got the offset, I need to move towards that. And in this case, I'm just going to use a lerp script. Now, a lerp script does not work well when I'm close by and all of a sudden I have that sudden change in distance. But in this case, I'm expecting to start following behind it, and I'll need to put a speed in here to decide how fast to go. But the closer I get to the actual target, the bigger of a physics change or a physics impact, a bigger of a feel it's going to have when I try to lerp from one position to the next by a percentage. So public vector 3, not vector 3. In this one, I wanted the speed, the rate that it's going to keep up. So public float, let's see, lerp multiplier. Okay. Equals, and we'll go with 0.02f. Sure. Well, actually, I want this to be timed as well. So based on our current time. So in that case, we'll go with 1 meter per second or per second. That's probably going to be way too slow. Now that we've got that, let's go to here. And our new lerp multiplier, that's 1F. We'll modify this one. I'll do a tuning on it first. varp. So now we have follow generator dot position plus equals offset. And so we know the new position. And now we want to say transform dot position equals vector3.lerp. And from here, we want to pick the two positions we're going to move from, which is our current position, transform dot position, comma, and to our target position, which is the P that we just generated. And now by how much, which is going to be lerp multiplier times time dot delta time. All right, that should be it. Now let's go back into Unity, which theoretically should be loading and will pop up when this screen does. Okay, hey, that worked. Now that I've got this, let's do a quick play test. The camera should be following it. Now what I'll do with this is, why don't I add the following script? So let's go to main camera. And first off, let's zoom back a little bit because I want to see this build up over time. And from there, I'm going to take that and Control-Shift-F. That brings the camera's position and orientation to match the scene view right now. Now that I've got the cube, no, it's the main camera that I want to follow it. So I'm going to reduce the other things and we are going to add our follow generator and we're going to drag the generator in. Lerp multiplier of 1 to begin with. Let's Control S to save the project, save the scene and the project. If you hit Control S once, it saves the scene. If you hit Control S twice, it saves the scene and the project. Any settings waiting to get stored out to assets, for instance. All right, so now that I've got that, play. Let's see what a lerp multiplier of 1 does. Whoa. It's almost entirely moving into a far angle. Yeah, look at this. We're just shooting away from where we currently are. And the offset on this is horrendous. Let's pause this. So does that mean that there are, yeah, look at that. And they are really far apart. Why? What did I do in the code? Did I set the position to do that? Well, also, let's go to special live build. While that's running, I'm going to go back to the code and I'm going to say my position, I'm following the generator. So that means the generator is offsetting this. This is supposed to be position dot vector3 dot down. And when it does that, it's supposed to offset the position. Now, these are all else ifs, which means that once one of them runs, it shouldn't execute any of the following ones. Okay, let's move this back into view. So at least I've got something happening in the screen. But what I'm looking at doesn't make any sense for what I'm seeing because I'm expecting it to only move 1 meter at a frame. Why are we moving so many? In that case, we instantiate prefab, we set the position, we already have the position. Am I doing something to manipulate the position over in camera follow? So over here we have P, which is follow. I did plus equals. I am modifying the position here. Okay. Wow. All right. Interesting. No, I just meant plus. Why did I get rid of both? I just hit delete or backspace once. Okay. Ryder is doing some things in here that I'm not used to yet. And who knows? Maybe it was a sticky key or something like that that accidentally registered twice. All right. Now let's go try this again and play. Also, that stopped running when it lost focus. It did. Okay, that's no good. What's this one doing? Okay, I didn't expect. What is it doing? Is it? It went the wrong way. I needed minus equals. So let's go back into the code because I can't see anything happen then. And this should be a minus equals. Not minus equals, just minus. It should be resetting itself. Thank you. And you're reloading the domain now. I really liked Unity a lot more before they started making everything package based, because the creation of a default project now takes so long, where you're sitting there for a default project to load up and it takes like 2 minutes because it's gathering all the packages together and installing them. And I get that there's convenience to that. There's also security risks to that, which is all over the place now. All right, so let's play and see how this handles now. I should be able to continue seeing what happens. Much better. Okay, now we're still seeing a very common trend in how it's generating. That doesn't really matter. I do need this to continue executing when it's not in focus. And I forgot the term. I don't think it's run in background, but maybe that was. Unity needs to keep running when not in focus. What was that? Background running. Okay, that's exactly what it was. Running background. In that case, I believe that's in player settings, and then what is that? Other settings. Oh, wait a second. Is that here in this stuff? No, not in that. Drag that back over. We're going to project settings, other. Oh, it's running, so I can't change anything. Got it. Running background, running background. It's unchecked. Run in background. Doesn't that highlight it in here? Wouldn't it be nice if it actually just took us to the specific spot that we want? Okay, it says it's in this section. Now I have to drag through or scroll through a huge number of these fields to find the specific one that I want. Background, run in background. Okay, I'm missing it. Oh, does that mean I have to extend out one of these other things like resolution and there it is. All right, now from here, I'm just going to go to special live build. Now, what should happen is this is going to build the new copy, and the video feed from up above here, that should continue to stream while I'm still focused on things like the code. And it seems like the speed of one to keep up with it is reasonable enough. It's not fully keeping up with it, but it's close enough. And besides, we just need to see that it's still doing something. Not up there. All right, so that is streaming. We've got some procedural work going on in there. I now want to change the process of how it's doing this. So effectively, I want it to primarily operate. I need to start thinking about what I want this to generate. And effectively, I want this to be building a procedural world. Now, for that world to have meaning, it means that I need regions to be getting built out. So you think about biomes that come with Minecraft. Now, a biome in Minecraft tends to come with a huge variety of chunks. So you have a chunk that's like 16 by 16 by 16 cubes, and it defines what those look like, and it has information about what else is going on in the biome for that position. So it can generate a couple sets of Perlin noise and how they influence each other, and then take the offsets of the cubes that are aligned along the border of it. And if it finds enough of a match with how those align, then it generates according to those. Now, in our stuff, I don't want, at least in this case, I'm not using chunks. That is something I will get into later, but not right now. Doesn't serve a purpose yet. With this one, I want batch rendering, which means that I'm going to be generating by type. Now, I'll still be splitting up by chunk basically, but that's going to be by the material that I'm going to be using for one, and second off by position, but it'll be much larger groups of positions. All right, so let's go into here. What's going to be next? So we've got the generator. The generator is just generating this long strand of stuff. You know what? I got a better idea. Let's make the code a little simpler on the generator and go generator. Because if we are getting truly random values from this, then what we should be seeing is not something that is predominantly heading in a particular direction. Because this, even though it does have variations, it's not kind of building out everywhere. So right now I am not seeing what I was expecting to see. So let's change this. I'm going to say RND is random value times 6F. All right, so in this case, I'm going to say if it is less than 1, else if it is less than 2, and let's set the other ones. Alt is less than a 3, 4, 5, else it should be this one. Great. So that gives us our 6 positions. Let's see if that works a little bit better for randomization. In this case, I'm going to go back to the code. Not that one, that one. No, come back. What? There. Okay, let's just go to jobs, special live build. All right, that's executing. That should be replacing. What's the next part? Well, right now I want to make sure that the random is actually kind of just building out in random to begin with around its state. The next thing I would use is something like Perlin noise to help dictate how that random generation applies. Oh, you know what? I want this position to keep showing up in the same spot so I don't have to keep dragging it back into here. There it goes. It moved. But I need to search that because I haven't done it. Unity random. This is Unity random. What? Did I do something wrong in my code? Okay. What I'm expecting to see, so if I go over to here and I let this run inside of here, what I'm expecting right now is that X, Y, and Z keep increasing or decreasing, but whatever the case is, they will be in a constant state of expanding there when I go to the main camera. All right, so X is varying reasonably. Y and Z have opposite effects. So Y is negative and Z is positive and keep generally moving in those directions. So Y of negative is down and Y of positive is up. Okay. So what was the last one? This is it's both Y and Z. So that's forward and up. What does my code look like? My code has errors. Okay. Dot. Did I get all the code? Up, down, up, back, forward, left, right. Okay, that's in there. I suppose it would make sense just to put them in sequence because I have to look for it this way, but whatever. Let's see if that resolves the random nature of it. Second off, when I say value, that's going to be uh, anywhere up to 1, but not 1 by itself. Range is inclusive. Yeah, okay. Now let's try this again. Random value, yeah. Where is Unity? Okay, it's building, and this one should allow it to compile and continue playing. Let's see what happens. Oh, much better. Yeah, much better. This is the effect I was expecting. So let's go to special live build. Oh, I do want to make sure that the code is actually, or the window is going to stay in relatively the same spot. So I'm going to do another search here. Let's do a search and say Unity player uh, save window location and have it come back to the same spot next time it loads if that will be visible. I don't want to just move it somewhere and find out that that's not visible. Keeping the player's position when loading a previous one. So in this case, I think I'm going to pass it to AI and see what it says. I don't, so I don't like using AI much for this stuff, but there are a few things where I want to run it past. One is when I'm doing this stuff, I have, with the amount of complexity that I'm adding to this, like the additional constraints here, I assume most search tools are not going to be able to find good content for what I'm trying to do. And that's a breakdown. When the concept is a simpler structure of just figuring out how does this work, what does that tool do, what is this menu option, then a search is going to work perfectly. I have little doubt in a search engine's capabilities. But as soon as there's some complexity to what I'm searching, then I find AI works better. So in this case, it's operating more like a search tool that I wanted to do. Why did I didn't really need either of those on. Da, 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 da. What? Unity doesn't have an option for this. Displays, resolutions. Are you talking about using this stuff? Can I just tell it what monitor to go to? Okay, we're going to go to this. Unity start app on a specific monitor. Because for my code, I know it's supposed to be operating inside of here. Let's drag this down so we can see it happening. Also, yeah, it keeps going when it's in the background. That's perfect. And this is operating a heck of a lot better now. We get to see what's going on in the world. We can do this constant iteration of improvements. Okay, so in this case, it's command line, run the game, full screen, monitor 2. Perfect. Okay. Let's say that that's actually correct. I'm going to assume it's right, and I'm going to put this section, full screen 1, monitor 2, control C, and now let's go find our code. I'm going to test to see if this actually works. I mean, I don't like using AI for scientific stuff unless I can validate it right after. Well, it's not like I want to trust it. But let's experiment with what that attribute does. So screen dash full screen 1 dash monitor 2. That makes sense. I'm converting it to full screen, assuming that 1 is the binary or integer version of Boolean. So 0 is false, 1 is true. And then monitor 2 would be indexed. In this case, that I assume it starts at 0. So I'm actually looking at monitor. Let's find out what monitor this is. So let's go. I'm only running 4 monitors right now, by the way. If I was on here, let's see. This is the setup that I'm normally running, but the top 4 monitors are gone right now. Back to here. And no, that one. Okay, so I assume this is the one where I'm actually running the application. So 4, let's just put in the real number there and see if that works. See if the numbers match this. Where 1 is a primary base, 1 based index. Perfect. Okay, excellent. So in that case, I want monitor 4. Let's go back to our code and see if these are the correct attributes. Code, and that's going to be inside live build tool. Inside of here, it needs to execute the program. Where does the execution happen? Where did I put that? Replace run executable, F12. All right, inside of this, over here we have the full path processing. Oh, what do I do to get attributes, parameters? Am I supposed to run? Okay. So inside of this one, for the process start info, do I put the attributes into the file name? I can't remember right now. All right, let's do a quick search on this. Drag this one over. And the code that I'm looking at, let's just drag this. Start info, process start info. Right there. All right. C#, process start info, execute app with parameters. Okay, inside of there, the exe path, blah, 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 args. Okay, arguments. Perfect. It does go into a separate spot. Now, get rid of that. And over here, what do we have? Arguments. I'm expecting arguments. I'm going to put that in the arguments equals over to here, and let's go to this one, DeepSeek, and start on a specific monitor. And what was the command line? No, get out of there. Thank you, that one. Let's try it. There. And now arguments are going to be these ones, and that should be monitor 4, comma, Control S. And this one I can only test by doing a live build. So let's go back to the actual game and do, once it shows up, bang, didn't happen. Where's my focus? Is it still doing something? There we go. All right, and live build. Oh, look at all this stuff. I just noticed my screen and saw all the details in there. That looks pretty busy. I should start putting color into that. Now, this is also still a huge amount of cubes that are being done. Is it going to show up in the right spot? Let's see. It should automatically be full screen, so it should take that full. That is not monitor 4. And it's full screen. So that one didn't work. Now let's go back over to here. Let's go back to our code, and we're going to change that to, let's try monitor 3. Control S, see what happens here. That code might not do anything. Let's check. In this case, I want to go to here. We're going to say Unity parameters, Unity player parameters, monitor, full screen. Okay. Players can customize their gaming experience by adjusting the resolution, display mode, the screen class, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Not from the API. I want this. parameters when running. Set the monitor full screen. Okay. I don't want to pragmatically change it. I mean, that could be a way that I do this, but I figure the code that's actually executing it should be the one responsible for it. Opens on. No, that's player prefs. It's not what I want. Oh, where do we go? Everything in there looks correct. So it did go to full screen. That's correct. So now let's try another monitor. Let's go monitor 3, which is supposed to be my 4K monitor, but this stuff is not working in order. Because where it did go was where I expected it to go for monitor 2. So now let's go to this one, and where is Unity? Taking its time rebuilding. Maybe? All right. Special live. Save twice. Special live build. Now wait for it. Okay, that went to the screen that I wanted. Why did it swap the two screens? Oh, so I'm guessing then that suggests that the layout of the screens over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, even though this is the screen where it's playing and it's listed as number 4, the index of this does not match the sequence or the index based on what Unity has. Maybe Unity enumerates out what display ports, what graphics ports the graphics card has in a different way. Okay. So, well, with that in mind, the program is running. Good. I'll keep it there. Now that we have that one, we need to start getting something a little bit more specific going on. What's next? Actually, this might be a good point to close it for the night and come back to this tomorrow. Let me see. All right, so what I'm doing with this is I'm effectively trying to generate some tools for Vigilante Racer. I did the physics engine. So the physics engine processes at an amazing speed. I can get over 10,000 cars to process in real time from a single CPU. And then I can get the rendering can now handle over 10,000 cars without issue, with limitations. There's a few issues that I haven't gotten into, particularly like when we are drawing a whole lot of different objects, but objectively of different colors and styles. However, as the objects get farther and farther away, that doesn't really matter. And also, I'm dropping my restrictions on 10,000. So I was targeting 10,000 cars being processed in real time for physics, AI, and rendering in a high quality game in Unity. Primarily because we were hitting those numbers for when I worked at Metagravity for our SDK, our Unity Network SDK. The server was handling over hundreds of thousands of connections of CCUs in real time. And the problem was keeping the clients up to date. Like we weren't going to get the clients, the local Unity clients or Unreal clients to be rendering 300,000 connected people at the same time. However, getting them to render 10,000 of them that are nearby, sure. Yeah, we were hitting numbers to get all that to happen. Of course, that also depends on the customer, the individual client. So, and by client, I mean the applications, the machine the application is running on. So, if the resources don't have as much, then of course it would be scaled back, and they would only be pulling in like 2,000 people or 500 people, or even less. All right, so that one's in there. Next, maybe now this is actually a good point to start generating the code that makes it more efficient. So let's take a look at draw calls on this. So I'm going to hit play, And what I want to do is go over to the game and start bringing up things like draw calls and frame rates, because that information should start dropping as it starts to expand further and further and further. However, this is Unity 6, and 6.4 is starting to take more things into account for our performance and help a lot of things out in that case. Okay, so now let's bring up the stats. So inside of this, I'm seeing an FPS around 50. GPU frame time is around 3. Okay, in this case, I'm just having to track those things there. So I'm going to go over to, let's track this, analysis and profiler. Let's drag the profiler. Let's drag it here. What I'm looking for is over time how this information is changing. I'm expecting something like the GPU time or CPU time to be increasing because we have a larger number of objects. Now, in this case, we can see that there are a large number of objects getting drawn to the screen. So let's take a look at something like draw calls. Draw calls, where is it? Yeah, the number just does not keep going up. Oh. Let's go to pause for a second. No, I want the stats up. There, thank you. Look at that. The numbers don't match. So the draw calls, 7,962, but there's 7,939 instances. What? Okay, yeah, and the numbers keep changing. Like right now, that is 7922 to 99. That is 23, a difference of 23. No. 899, 920. Yeah, 23. Let's see if it keeps up 23 as a difference. So, yeah, that's 23 again. It's got 23 extra ones in here. Let's go ahead and unpause it. Let that continue for a moment and then pause it again. All right. Again, 23. Okay. Why 23? It suggests that there's something else going on with its rendering that is not showing everything. Draw breakdowns. What are we getting here? How does this information change? One draw call. SRP batcher. So it's got batching automatically happening in here. That's effectively what I was going to be doing at the code. So it's doing something on its own where it's batching the objects. It recognizes that these are all the same mesh, the same material, and draws them all. That makes things easier. So I don't need to generate that code myself. Like the game objects themselves are getting faster because of it. But is that what's actually happening? Does it truly have this batched? The material that I'm using the default material. I assume that that's probably instanced. Let's test that. I'm going to throw in a new material. So proc world, create folder, and we're going to call this materials. All right, and now I need a new material. Create material, and we're going to call this test material. So the reason I'm generating this one is because I don't want to turn on GPU instancing, and I want to see if it still does batching. Because instancing is generally required on this anytime I'm batching my calls. So let's see if Unity can get around that itself. So in this case, let's give it a different color as well. Sure. And now I'm going to go over to the cube, go to inspector, and let's put that test material in place. Materials. Thank you. Not what I wanted. Minus. I wanted to replace the existing one, not put it in additively. We wouldn't see a thing. Default cube doesn't have a secondary map or a secondary object to put the texture alignment to. Let's go to play. And I want to look at the breakdown of this. In this case, the material is not instanced, so I'm expecting its frame rate to, not its frame rate, but its draw calls to increase. One draw call. But wait, what? One draw calls non-SRP compatible, but and then okay, batcher. It still says it's this many calls, this many instances. We still see the triangles. We still see the number of everything going up. Stop. Now, what if I change the material for every single one of these? What was it? I need to put in a parameter, a property. Um, what's the code for that? Let's just do a quick search because I can't remember which one it was. So Unity include property on material renderer on renderer, material renderer, C#. Click on one of the first things that's in here. Okay, we got the materials, blah, blah, blah. So what are we looking for? That's it right there. We set the material property block. Update property block. What are you doing? That's not a built-in code. Okay, got it. On validate, you update this and you're modifying it. Now, property block, you do generate a property block up at the top. So let's put that in our code too. All right, so now let's go over into, what was it? Generator. Not generator, cube. Cube needs a script to be able to set this stuff. So we're going to go with color change. And I think I will use a Perlin noise on top of a gradient to pick the color. So let's go create a script for this. So create mono behavior script, and this is going to be set color pattern. All right, set color pattern. And now inside of this, we're going to clear out the existing stuff that comes with this. And instead, we're now going to generate. Oh, hey, I've still got the old one on there. Let's go back into Unity for a second. Where's Unity? This is another thing I really wish Unity would change. I just generated the script. Does it really need to recompile everything now? Because I have to sit there waiting for it to do its thing. All right, so now let's go to special live build. And now let's go back into, why did it get some weird ding like it was doing? Oh, live build failed. Why did live build failed? Oh, it saved that? I don't remember hitting Control S. Maybe I did. Okay. Not worth it. All right. Public, in this case, what do I want? I need a gradient. Gradient. And that's to be able to select what color scheme I'm going to want. Color scheme. And now I need a Perlin noise frequency, a noise frequency to happen on this for how far information is moving across. So let's go to public float noise size. Public float. Okay, yeah, we'll go with that one. One of the things that I'm testing for right now as well, because I haven't seen how to do this, is if I do set up distinct colors for every single instance of a material, or for every single instance of this prefab, is it able to instance the calls, combine them all together into one call still, one draw call that somehow includes the added information for all of the cubes? Or does it then every single object become its own draw call? However, I think right now you know what? I haven't even validated that this is separate because over here I've got the SRP batcher saying it has so many draw calls, so many instances, but then not an SRP compatible one. Oh, okay. Draw calls. That's what I'm looking for up there. How many draw calls does it actually have up at the top? Let's double check that. I want the draw calls. It's giving me a number of how many times that it draws. And so theoretically, every single cube here should be its own. And yeah, the draw calls keeps increasing and increasing and increasing. And I think part of what might be happening on this is it may be distinguishing when a cube overlaps with another cube and not drawing one of them. And so that's why I think we end up with different numbers on this, but I'm not positive on that. So let's go back. Before it was 23 difference. This is not 23 difference. So I see a much larger difference. Okay, so that is, no. That is 23 difference. It's a stable difference. Okay, that's weird. All right, so I do end up with all those distinct objects. These are all the draw calls. The numbers of them keep increasing. So the color changing script that I'm going after right now is not of importance. It's not something I'd be keeping in the end anyway. Oh, what else would I be doing tonight? I think it's getting a little bit late for me. It's around 1 a.m. now, and I'm trying to get my sleep schedule back to normal. When I was working in Poland remotely, I was staying up until like 5 a.m. out here in Australia just to keep up with the time schedules. And now I am unemployed, looking for work, but I am trying to get my schedule back to an Australian schedule. So hopefully that works out. And I'm going to call that a night for tonight and continue this in a future broadcast. All right. Thanks. Talk to you later.